Okay, folks, hello and welcome along today. Again, I'm Karen Joyner, Chair of the Departmental Organisation and Membership Committee. So here we are at the last session in the programme of training and awareness for branch organisers. So far, we've covered the membership records, workplace mapping, communications, and organising your committee. Last week, we talked about the membership team and headquarters, about keeping branch membership records and complying with GDPR. We looked at how to do workplace mapping and what information it can give you. And then we discussed how your branch committee communicates and with whom. And on Tuesday this week, we've discussed organising your committee. So I hope you find these discussions both interesting and useful. Hopefully you will have seen how each session has built on the last one as we move towards this concluding one. I'm going to say it again, but we're not here to tell you what to do. We're trying to guide you to your own conclusions about what your committee may need or want, and because we can't tell you what that actually is, we're just offering you the help for you to understand what you need to do, and then it's up to you and your committee to discuss and decide what action you want to take. Now, today we're going to be focusing on developing a recruitment campaign, and what format that takes will be informed by your branch priorities, whether that's new members or to expand your committee. But this is what we've been leading up to throughout the course of these 4 sessions. So without further ado, we'll pass it over to Dooley. Thank you.
Okay, Karen, thank you very much. As Karen has said there, folks, we've the first 3 sessions have been built up to the day, so there'll be some as we move through today's session, we'll be referring you back to what we've done previously. If we take a look, first of all, just I want to just share with you as a reminder, because as Karen says, your plans, your campaign for your office will be your plans for your office. What we're trying to do is inform those, your thinking around those. And one of the ways we're doing that is to show you this example that we have drafted. And as we move forward through the day, I'll be referring back to this mapping exercise. But obviously your own branch's mapping exercise may well be different. But just as a bit of a reminder here, we have Office 1, good few members, 4 reps. Office 2, good few members, no reps. Office 3, couple of reps, but a minority of members. And Office 4, very few members. So that's the format as we work through the plan as part of how we actually plan and then implement a campaign. So just keep that in mind, and I will refer back to that. For the basis of today, our campaign that we're seeking to launch will have 3 objectives. The branch committee has met and has already decided on these. There's 3 objectives. The first objective is to raise the profile of NIPSA and the branch committee across the membership as a whole. That may well encourage people to join. It may well encourage members to become to join the branch committee, but it is really just raise the profile of NIPSA and the branch across the organization or across the branch structures as a whole. We then have 2 very specific objectives. One is that in Office 2, we're going to try and recruit 2 members onto the branch committee. And the second objective is in Office 4. Why we would like to have somebody from Office 4 on the branch committee? The fact of the matter is that with very few members there. So the priority objective for Office 4 is to recruit non-members to NIPSA. So that's our 3 objectives: raise the profile, get some branch reps from Office 2, and recruit more members from Office 4. So if we can just keep that in mind as we work through today, that's the objectives that we're setting out, and that will inform how we go about the plan. So, as we've said previously, any campaign, any strategy, and the implementation of that is all about planning. It's about getting all your ducks in a row before you actually start. What you don't want to be doing, or certainly what you want to try and do as little of as possible, is that in the middle of a campaign, you're trying to develop publicity material, or you're trying to actually work out what your plan is. You need to have all of that work done beforehand. So there is very much a lead in to this. Now, what we're going to show you today is we're going to use a Gantt chart, and that's what I've been told it's called, and that's the name I give it. But really all it is just a table set out where we have the 5 days of the week, and we have weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, whatever it is. And then within those, we have actions. Some of them are very straightforward. Some of them take a wee bit of work. But all of this is leading up to the implementation of the objective in relation to your priorities. So I'm going to give you a wee Gantt chart that I've produced based on the workplace mapping example. Now, what we've done here is, don't be panicking before we put this up here. We've included an awful lot in this. Some of this you may not either wish to do or need to do. We've included it obviously by way of so that it will inform the discussion today as we move forward. So let's have a wee look here at the chart.
Yeah, just to be clear, folks, this is just an example of what you could do. We're not saying that this is what you have to do. We're just suggesting that this is an idea of what you could do, and it's just to give you a taste for how you could plan this and make everybody in the committee be involved in the whole process as well. Okay.
Absolutely. So look, 2 things before we get into this, just to draw your attention to. The first one is, you'll see the color code across the top. So the chairperson, the secretary, the organizer, and the branch committee. That's who the responsibilities fall to here, so that it all doesn't fall on the shoulders of one person. Overall, the implementation of any plan falls to the branch committee as a whole, but we need people to lead on certain aspects of it. So what we've done is we've color coded this on the basis of saying who should take the lead on these issues. I'd also draw your attention to week 8. Week 8 is where you're implementing. We'll look at that one first. That's where you're going to implement your plan. That's actually where you're going to do your work. Everything before that is a lead up to that. It's to prepare you, it's to prepare the branch committee, it's to prepare members, it's to prepare non-members for being approached in week 8. So that's the objective. The objective is to plan, build, break down barriers, break ice, raise the profile, so that actually when you go to talk to people in week 8, people know who the branch committee is, what NIPS is, what you've done, what we intend to do. All of that information has been made available to them. So look, if we work through, we're just going to do this on a week-by-week basis. What I would plan to do here is we'll look at week 1. We'll talk through the actions in week 1. I'll give you some information. Myself and Karen will give you some information about what we mean by some of these functions. And then we'll stop. And if anybody wants to ask a question, then by all means do that. Is that okay? So look, week 1, again, this is only suggestions. We're looking at a campaign starting on the 10th of week commencing the 10th of October. First thing you want to do to launch a campaign is there'll be a letter issued from the branch chairperson to all members and non-members actually launching the campaign, actually getting out there and saying that over the next 8 weeks, and it can be 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, doesn't really matter. But over the next 8 weeks, in this case, the branch committee will be providing information to members, will be engaging with members and non-members, will be encouraging non-members to join NIPSA, will be encouraging members to become active on the committee, raise the profile, provide information, provide support, whatever the letter needs to say. It is the launch of your campaign to say over the next 8 weeks, we're going to be engaging with you and providing you with information. Then we have, and obviously you have, that letter is in the period we would be suggesting from, say, the first week in September, the 4 or 5 weeks before that. This is where all your prep work's done and leading up to this. So the letter is ready to go. That letter can be written 4 weeks beforehand and just be waiting to be issued. It's not written that morning. Everything is prepared beforehand as far as possible. So then the next day, then the branch organizer would issue out the We Can Help poster. That can be issued out to all members or members and non-members as a means of trying to raise the profile. It's, again, you have your email contact list done, you've revised your NIPSA contacts, you've tried to get as many email addresses or whatever for non-members. You issue hopefully that's just the click of a button on Tuesday. On the Wednesday, then we have the branch committee will meet. I know it's very early. You don't necessarily need to meet the first week because obviously you will have been a meeting in the weeks, or you will have met in the weeks before this, but I've included it here where the branch committee just meets to discuss the campaign. So what you're looking to do is have a conversation at that meeting about what you've done previously and what you're going to be doing over the next week or two, just to make sure that everything's done, everything's ready to go, and that people understand who the responsibility, what the responsibility is. What you don't want happening is the organizer and the secretary sending the same thing out on the same day, or you don't want the organizer thinking it's the secretary sending something, or the secretary thinking the organizer sent something, and then you miss vital information going out. So it's just about planning and making sure everybody's aware of what to do. Those meetings should be relatively short, the committee meetings, and we would be suggesting certainly that they should be separate meetings to anything else, just solely with one item on the agenda, that being the campaign. Then what you might want to do is on the Thursday is where there's a separate letter sent from the branch chair to non-members, encouraging non-members to join NIPSA. And to indicate that over the next number of weeks, we'll be providing them with information of what NIPSA, giving them reasons to join NIPSA, what NIPSA does for members, and what services are there. And then working with Karen, we've produced a series of videos, and we can make those available where the video is sent. It's not a link, where the video can be sent out by email. You just click a button and play the video. There's short videos, 30-second videos. Some of them are targeted towards young people, towards women, towards agency workers. Some are general recruitment videos. So there's a number of different videos there that the branch will have access to, and then we can issue out off that. So we're looking at week one, where we have a couple of straightforward, just send emails out, a couple of letters, branch committee meeting, just to make sure everything's working. So I'm going to come out of this for a minute. We'll come back into it in a second, but has anybody any questions, or does anybody want to make any comments around any of that? Do you understand what we're suggesting in relation to the chart itself? Is there anything that you think actually we shouldn't be doing out of those examples we've set out in week one, or are you all content?
No, they're definitely very good, Julie, but has the branch secretaries and the chair, have they all been told that this is going to happen coming up now?
It's a fair question, Eileen. Yes, part of what we're doing in the weeks leading up to this is that we're going to have, we'll be engaging with the branch committees as well. The organizer will hopefully be engaging with the branch committee. The responsibility for this campaign is for the committee as a whole, and that's one of the things we've said right through this is that it shouldn't fall on, I mean, obviously we want organizers to lead and to have some idea in their own heads about what needs to be done, but that doesn't mean the organizer has to do it all. So yes, the preparation part up to this through the month of September, you know, we'll be engaging with branch committees. We hope branch committees will be meeting amongst themselves, where maybe chairs and secretaries will be sitting down with organizers and saying, right, what do we need to do? Organizers will be drafting plans, sharing them with the branch committee and saying, right, this is what I think we should be doing over the next number of weeks. It has to be everybody involved in this. It's not the responsibility of the branch organizer to implement this or to decide on their own what's happening or what's not happening. Everybody has to be on board. It doesn't work unless everybody's on board, Eileen. So yes, engagement with the various officers and with the committee is critical before we actually launch a campaign.
And all the materials will obviously be provided then, you know, through September, so that everybody's aware of what's happening, what they need to do as well. You know, the posters, the videos, and everything will all be issued out to the branches then.
We'll have those. You know, we should have all of those done over the summer, Eileen, and all of those. Even a lot of that stuff will be out even well before that. We're hoping to get stuff out, you know, over the next few days. But it is the prep. The September is critical to the delivery of the campaign, because all you're looking to do once you get, in this case, to the 10th of October, all you're really looking to do is implement.
Yeah.
You're not looking to do any prep. You're not looking to sit down. It's just about implementation. So that 4 or 5 weeks beforehand is critical to this, and that's preparing the letters, getting the posters, getting the videos, having everything lined up, agreeing what you're going to do. All of that's done in the first 4 or 5 weeks. So when you get to this point, it's only implementing. So yeah, you have to engage with the chair, the secretary, the committee, and have everything lined up and have everybody on board. What we want to do with the organisers is that the organisers will lead that process and make sure that the chair and the secretary and the committee's on board, because it doesn't work if they're not.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other comments, folks? Is okay? We'll move into week 2 then.
Sorry, Dilly, can I just ask, so what you're saying here is this is your suggested format, and we can sort of move that around a wee bit if
absolutely.
So we don't all have to.
No, absolutely. All I'm doing here is just working through options and then trying to explain what some of those options are as well, Melanie, because and it won't be, I mean, for example, if your membership penetration is actually quite good and you're thinking, you know what, we don't actually need to recruit members specifically. We're going to look at a few activists, or we're just going to raise the profile. A lot of these things we've listed out, you don't need to do, So, and that's why, on Eileen's point, that's why the preparation with the committee is essential, because the committee has to agree what you're going to do. All you're doing as the organizer is making suggestions and saying, here's some of the things we can think about. For example, if you're doing a wee bit later on, we talk about doing an information stall. If everybody's working from home, you don't do that. There's absolutely no point doing that. If everybody's in the office, or a lot of your members don't have access to email, well, then you need to do something slightly different as part of that as well. I look after members at the Northern Ireland Assembly, and a lot of our members are the ushers, and they don't use email. They're on their feet all day walking around. They don't have access to email, really, So if we were engaging with the ushers, you'd be doing something different as part of that. Yeah. So the plan has to be individual to what the branch priorities are, what the branch circumstances are, and then what the branch committee agrees based on the suggestions coming from the organizer.
Okay, thank you.
This chart is really the worst case scenario. If you've got to do everything,
there's an awful lot in it. Yes.
Yes. If you've got to do absolutely everything, this covers all those bases. But obviously, you just pick and choose which bits you want, which ones you think are useful for your committee. Because again, it comes back to this thing: we can't tell you what it is that your priorities are. You have to work that out for yourself, and that's what the idea of these sessions has been, is to get you thinking about what it is that you and your committee want to achieve, your priorities, so you can pick and choose out of this chart what you want to do, or add to it as well. If you come up with an idea, you think that this is what will work for us, then that's what you throw in there as well. So it's very much a case of pick what you want.
Yeah, very much. But man, look, Melanie, one of the things, and I know it's a big issue for your branch, with the number of agency workers and turnover, one of the things we haven't included in this chart is, for example, induction. And so therefore, that's and that's because you can't necessarily plan induction, and you might be able to, given the turnover years, but for other areas. Yeah. So taking a lot of what we have suggested here out, and maybe including induction as part of this, might be something that suits your branch. Just to have it recorded. Yeah. You will do that anyway, but included in the plan, so it is part of the everyone knows what's happening, and therefore the responsibility is allocated. So yes, take out what you need, include if you have some other ideas. It is just about getting a plan agreed so that everybody knows what needs to happen as part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, folks?
Totally, Emmett here. Just want to ask you, do you see this plan? See, for example, mapping. Would a mapping exercise be done before you do this type of thing?
Absolutely.
To identify non-members?
Absolutely, Emmett, because the thing is, and I know mapping is not for everyone, but I have to say I'm a bit of a fan of it, because I've seen it done, I've seen it work, but it does take a bit of time and effort. But if you do your mapping exercise really, that's why we put that in session 1. Your mapping exercise really should be one of the first things you look at, because your mapping exercise then will identify your priorities. Your priorities then govern how you're going to do your communication, because you're looking to target particular groups for whatever reason. So you then have to think about, well, how do I engage with those groups? How do I communicate with them? And then what am I going to say to them? Are we going to look activists from that group to come on? Are we going to try and do a recruitment exercise? So the mapping informs that first. At this stage, we're in the latter stages of this process where you've done the mapping, you've looked at your communications, you've checked your membership lists, you're deciding now what your priorities are. So if it's recruitment, that's great. If it's recruiting to your committee, that's great. Now we're talking about actually how do we go about that? So yes, mapping first, mapping early on in the process, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see a mapping program, teacher? I know it's a small question, but you see when I'm doing a mapping, I'll be doing it in our place. I would have to inform management that I'd be doing that, as opposed to going down onto the shop floor and actually. You wouldn't be speaking to people too long to be asked you, what are you doing?
Well, you don't even, if you need to talk to people, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying don't go and talk to people, but you don't necessarily need to do the mapping exercise. If you got an organizational chart for your area, Emmett, for example, right? If there was an organizational chart there that listed every member of staff, I'm not saying there is, but let's work on the basis there is one. All you need is that chart on the membership list, and then you can set everybody out. You don't actually need to go and talk to anybody. Right. It's just about filling in that document with names and then identifying who's a member and who's a non-member, where they work, and then you can decide then after that, right, does this show me? Now, I suppose one of the difficulties, I remember doing a mapping exercise with a branch, and they were very much off the view to say, well, actually, this business area we need to recruit in because we have very few members there. And we did the mapping exercise. It was a bit of time and effort. It didn't take forever, but it was a bit of time and effort. And it showed up that we needed to do a recruitment exercise in this business area. So there was a bit of a, well, we already knew that. What the hell did we do that for? But the mapping exercise is really, it's an opportunity to show you something that you might not be aware of. And in the example that we have here, what we've suggested in this is that the branch wasn't aware that there was so many non-members in Office 4. So therefore that affected actually their decisions. They're going, right, well, Jesus, we thought we had more members in there, so we need to do a recruitment in there. So that's the benefit of the mapping exercise. If it reinforces what you already know, well, fair enough. But in a lot of cases, it will shine a bit of light on something that you weren't necessarily aware of. So that's why we get that done early, because that affects your priorities. And then it affects how you communicate. It affects your the implementation of your campaign plan. It really feeds in right along the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously with the mapping exercise, in our example, we have Office 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I mean, for the like of a local office, Office 1 could be income support. Office 2 could be job seekers lounge. Office 3 could be the front office. The meters and greeters, so that sort of thing. That's how you can divide it up. Or the like of a branch that's multi-floors. It could be a floor specifically. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just how you break it up. But obviously, if you can put all of the staff from that area into that list, and then you can mark off who your members are.
It's a very good point, Karen. And Emmett, one of the things we did in a previous mapping exercise I did for a branch, they had a number of areas, which actually meant they filled out about 6 of those mapping forms, okay? And then we stuck them all up on a wall. And actually, when you were able to see them all together and step back from them and look at them, there was things you couldn't even have noticed, even when you were looking at them individually. There was things really set out as part of that. So, look, like I say, it might reinforce what you already know, and you might say to yourself, why did I bother? But the majority of times that branches do mapping exercises, it will show you things that you weren't aware of. And that's why we're suggesting they're a good idea. However, if you're in a branch with 400 or 500 members that are split across, a variety of locations, that it becomes a very large time-consuming task. And on those occasions, we're saying to people, look, maybe it's not an idea, or maybe what you might want to do is say, actually, do you know what we're going to do? We're only going to do building 1 first, or we're only going to do the first and second floors, and then we'll come back to the other ones later and just map floor 1 and 2 so that it becomes less of an onerous task from a time-consuming perspective. But I have to say, I'm a bit of a fan of a mapping exercise. I've seen them work, and I've seen them work really well. So we'd be keen to say to branches it is worthwhile to actually do that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question that it is a really worthwhile exercise to do it. I mean, when I was first suggested to me many years ago, it was like, oh my God, how, it's so much work, and there is a lot of work involved in it, which is, as Dooley suggests, you could do one floor at a time, just to get that experience and get working through it. So you're not, because obviously, when you have a massive task ahead of you like that, it's just easier to take little bite-sized chunks out of it. And maybe, this whole plan and idea, you can implement it for one floor, and then a couple of months later go do the next floor or whatever. It's how you want to tackle it, and obviously it depends on how busy your committee is, how big your committee is, how many people you have to rely on to help you do the work. So this is why we're saying, again, this all comes down to what priorities your committee has, because if you have a really big and active committee, it could be something that happens very quickly, very easily. But if you have a small committee over and not really anybody in some offices where you're spread over multi situation, it can be very difficult to do it. So you have to take more time to do it, and you just take your time. That's the whole thing. And I mean, we're suggesting this timeline in October, because that's what we're working towards. But we'll be around before that, obviously, to help you. You can tap into the your seconded officer and the organisation membership, and indeed, we'll all be allocated certain branches to help, so that there will be,
just on that, Emmett, if you want to do a mapping exercise of your area over the summer, because you don't need to talk directly to people, you just need lists of staff names and your membership list. If you need a hand with that, we'll give you a hand with that. This is stuff that can be done over the summer. You don't necessarily need to wait to September to do that.
I know, but so basically, from my point of view, so my starting point is going to be, I need a list of non-members.
A list of all, a staff list, a list of all staff. So if you had, for example, the easy, I know it's never this easy, but if there was an organizational chart for your area that listed down, say, everybody or near enough everybody on it, that's all you need, because then you have your own membership list and you just start filling in the blanks, and you just start highlighting, right, well, who's a member? But there's, Karen Joyner, Karen's a member. There's Dooley Hart, Dooley's a non-member. And then you just color code it on the basis of saying, as we've set out there, so you highlight a member, say in yellow, who's the reps, and then you just take it from there. And it's really administrative. You shouldn't really need to talk to anybody. It's not a matter of going to the floor and going up to William and saying, what's your name? I don't know who you are. Are you an IPSA member so I can mark you off here? You really don't need to, shouldn't really need to do that. What you might need to do on occasion is, and I've seen this before, where you go to maybe a staff officer or DP and say, look, as part of the work that I'm doing for NIPSA here, we're doing a mapping exercise. Can you give me your staff list? It'll be treated confidentially. And that's a reasonable request. Now, the manager might balk a wee bit at that, but on occasions, but that's a reasonable request. You're allowed to recruit, and part of that is identifying who's a member and who's not a member. And this nonsense about GDPR is nonsense in this case, because GDPR doesn't mean you're not allowed information. It just means you have to have a justifiable reason. And a trade union recruiting in a workplace is a justifiable reason for information to be shared. So that you should be able to get now. In some places, managers will be happy enough. In other places, they'll be a pain in the ass. We'll have to deal with that. But you really shouldn't need to go and talk to people. The information should be available to you or made available to you if you don't have it. William, I've seen your hand up there and then I went back down again.
Yeah, it was just on your last point. Regarding speaking to your managers, obviously, I think, as Emmett said, he's in Lissahalli, yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, I don't even know where you'd be best going to, whether it be the grade 7 directly. I'm just saying this is what you're planning on doing. It's part of a recruitment exercise, and you're fully entitled to know. It's also it's not like it's top secret. These are people who work in the building.
Yep.
You can say you could for the reasons being, well, it saves you having to go around the office asking people's names, because it's going to be a lot less time, a lot less facility time is going to be
Absolutely.
required if he's able to give you the lists directly instead of having to go around.
And I think on that as well, and for everyone, if you're having that engagement with your manager, give them the commitment to say, look, you know, you're the person that will have access to this information. It'll be treated, you know, it'll not be shared widely or anything. It's for you to identify who's a member and who's a non-member as part of a recruitment campaign. And we are allowed to recruit. So, and if there are any issues raised about GDPR, as I've said, the legislation's clear. If you have a justifiable reason for accessing information and retaining it, then you're allowed to do that. And the commitment you can give to the management side is that as soon as the recruitment campaign has ended, you'll destroy the list. So there's no issue there. There's no GDPR issues in relation to actually doing this. Is that okay, folks?
Yeah, just on the lists as well. I mean, obviously, if you have a very high turnover, significant turnover of staff, you know, getting a list now for a campaign in the autumn isn't necessarily going to help you terribly much. You know, because there'll be a massive change in the staff. But obviously, a fairly settled office, like most of our places, then, you know, you can get working on that over the next couple of months.
Yeah, mapping, I think, Karen, that's a really good point, because the likes of Melanie branch, where there's a high turnover of agency staff, mapping would be a real pain in the ass, because 2 weeks later, it may be completely out of date, you know, and so therefore it's a matter of you making a judgment about whether it's an effective use of your time and effort. And in some areas it really is, and we promote it, it's a good thing. But in some cases, it's just not worth the time and the effort. And one example is in CMS, with such a turnover of agency staff. Now, what you might want to do is to say, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to map substantive staff, or those agency staff that have been there for some time. And at least it might show something up. But I mean, I think there's a good reason not to do it in CMS because of the high turnover of staff. It can be a real pain in the ass that way, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we'll move on to week 2 here. So we'll share again here. So, as I've said, there are 3 objectives. One's to raise the profile generally. One is to get branch reps from Office 2. And one is to recruit members in Office 4. So start of week 2 here. You have a letter that can go specifically to Office 2 in relation to the need. Now, that can come from the branch organizer. I've coloured that in green. It could come from the chair. The reason I put it in green could come from the secretary. The reason I put it in green was the chair's already issued 2 letters out the week before. So if all of the information is coming from one person, people will start to get a bit pissed off with that. So there has to be variety. If you have a vice chair, then fair enough. If you want secretary or organizer, but the premise here is we're starting to break the ice on the basis of saying, let's get a letter out to Office 2 about the need to have a branch rep from that area on the committee. So then, a wee bit further on in the week, one of the things that's available to us now, this isn't available to everyone, but one of the things we have been talking about in this campaign, because we're going to do a departmental campaign here, although I've highlighted this in blue for the branch committee, I think what we might do on this on the Membership Plus session, week 4, the session from MTB, and week 6, the session from Platinum, we might actually do those departmental wide, and then just encourage members from your branch to link into those, rather than do them just for individual branches. But we'll give that further consideration over the next few weeks and see what we do on that. But I think that's probably what we will do. But I wanted to highlight this here to say that it is about providing information sessions to members about what their NIPSA membership can bring them. Membership Plus card is a big plus for us. We know that a lot of the agency workers are very keen on it, something that is used there to promote it. I mean, we have the problem, you know, it's not everybody does this, but we have the problem sometimes where an agency worker will join, get the Membership Plus card and then resign. But look, this is a big issue for us. So we can get someone to come along from Membership Plus, a 30-minute session, just where someone comes in for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, does a presentation of Membership Plus, question and answer, and then you know, that's it over. And we're suggesting that's something, because of the importance of Membership Plus, that's something we can include in week 2. And then again, we have the organizer just issuing out a second We Can Help poster. And that's just to raise the profile and continue the engagement. I'll do week 3 as well, and then we'll come back to both those weeks. So then week 3, again, this is, we've said already, this is just suggestions. One of the things that some branches have done is to do like an online surgery where members and or non-members, or sorry, not and or, members, for members only, or you can include members and non-members, is where you maybe bring a seconded officer down, or an experienced branch rep will say, if you have any issues, if you want to talk to us, we're available from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock on Tuesday, week 3. And then if anybody wants to come in, they can link into that. You can do it online. If someone comes to you, you can have like 10-minute slots. If someone comes and says to you, look, you know, I have a problem with my line manager and I'm thinking of lodging a complaint, well, you don't deal with that at that surgery. You say to that person, right, tell you what I'll do. I'll meet you on Thursday afternoon and we'll talk in more detail about this. But that's just an opportunity to engage with members and offer them the opportunity to come and have a chat with you about issues that would be of concern to them. And that can be packaged as an online surgery, and there can obviously be follow-up work attached to that as well. We then have included here week 3, just another quick branch committee meeting to discuss the campaign, issue video 2 out, and then the bottom one there is issue the minutes of a recent LWC or branch committee meeting, setting out the work that's being done. That's just another means of saying, a lot of the times members might know we're meeting management, but might not know what we're talking to management about. So again, that's looking at your communications to say, sometimes managers will issue out minutes of meetings. It's also about us taking some ownership of those minutes and saying they're not management minutes, they're ours as well. And therefore getting out maybe as part of your in the middle of your campaign here, maybe making sure that in the middle of that or early in that you actually have a meeting with management, so you can draft a report, or you can do a quick record of meeting, or if the branch committee meets, setting out the members, these are some of the things that are currently being considered. So look, I'll take this down. I'm happy to have a chat about any of those issues. Tina, I think your hand's up there.
Yep.
Yeah, just further to what you were saying there, Dooley, is by sharing the minutes of meetings with management, it also lets members an opportunity to say, hold on, they don't know this is happening in my team, and it works both ways. Members are then communicating with the committee as well as the committee communicating with the members.
You're absolutely right. And I know in some places, now I know I did this many years ago, but I was in a small branch and contained in the one building. It was a bit easier. I wouldn't want to be doing this if it's in CMS or PIP or somewhere, but maybe 2 weeks before we were actually meeting management at the LWC, we'd have sent an email out around the members just to say, look, we have a meeting coming up with management in 2 weeks. Here's some points we want to raise. Does anybody want anything else raised? Now, the difficulty with that is sometimes you can get back some wingnut suggestions, and they might need to be sieved out as you know, as you move forward. But nonetheless, it allows an opportunity. If you go to the members before the meeting, you then attend the meeting, and then you give the members a report after the meeting. It raises the profile and shows clearly to members that you're there representing the issues that matter to them. And Tina's absolutely correct. If you open up that channel for them to communicate, they may well come back to you and say, are you aware that such and such is happening? And you know, Tina will be aware, as many as will be. A lot of the time we find out about things because either a manager or a member rings us up and tells us about it, because management haven't engaged with us through the Whitley process to let us know about things. So that line of communication is vital, and it's something that should be built on as well. Anybody, any comments about some of those things that we went through there as part of week 2 and 3? What do you think about the online? Has anybody any particular views about the online surgery? I mean, there are pluses and minuses to that. I remember doing one of these in Queen's University many years ago. I went over once a month for the branch committee met in the morning, and I stayed on for a further hour afterwards. And for the first couple of times we done it, it went really well, and then there was nobody, and I was sitting in a room on my own for an hour, and I went, right, bugger that, and we stopped it. So sometimes it is about trying something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then don't do it. But has anybody any particular views on that or anything else?
My thoughts would be, Julie, that if you have a surgery and somebody's talking to you and they're in the office, you say they have a problem with their manager, they're in the office. You know, how do they, you know, I always thought there should be somewhere, even for making private calls when you're, you know, in the office now, where you could go somewhere private, make calls, if that's, you know, if something to do with union or personal.
Yeah,
but you know, if they're telling you their manager isn't happening, their manager's sitting 2 seats away, or other staff, how do they do that?
No, and of course that can be a difficulty. What we're saying about this surgery is that it's online. I mean, if someone, again, sometimes even just offering the surgery, somebody may come back and say to you, well, actually, I can't make that surgery for whatever reason. Maybe they have a meeting on, or maybe the circumstance you've said it, they're sitting beside their manager at that time and can't talk to you.
Or other staff, you know.
But there's the opportunity of them coming back and saying, look, I'd actually like to have a chat with somebody, but I can't do that. Can somebody else contact me at some other time? And then that can be reorganized again. It's just about opening up the channels of communication.
No, I think it's a good idea, but I just thought that was one
no, and that is it. And that is a difficulty, and that's why I was suggesting that about doing it online, because it might actually be easier for people to lift the laptop and go into a meeting room and
that's insane. If you're sitting there and
but you would need to be private in that as well. I mean, that would be absolutely vital, you know, as well. I know that's obvious, but no, it is an issue. But you know what I've found in the past is that if you can open up the channels of communication, even if it doesn't suit someone, then it provides them the opportunity of saying to you, actually, that doesn't suit me, but I'd still like to talk to you. Whereas they mightn't have come cold to you, or they mightn't have come as early. They usually come to you when maybe there's things you can't do anything for them because they've waited too long. So all you're looking to do is open up the lines of communication.
Okay. So just thought it was something.
No. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Again, this is you know, a part of the communications, you know, that we were talking about in one of the other sessions about you know, engaging with members, so they know you're there, you're doing something for them, you know, and obviously that helps to raise the profile of NIPSA, which is another one of the objectives here.
Yeah, and like I say, it might you may think it's a good idea, you might do it, and they might not, you know, there mightn't be a Kevin Costner to it, you know, you might build it and they might not come. But the simple fact of the matter is that if we said early on as well in this, there is absolutely nothing wrong with trying something, and if it doesn't work, fine, then stop doing it, do something else, you know. And there are no bad ideas in this. There's just some might work and some might not. So it's just a matter of if you think it's a good idea, go ahead, do it. If the members react to it, great. If they don't react to it, well, then stop doing it, move on to something else.
And I mean, you know, as we've said before, 38 branches. The 38 branches are entirely different across, you know, the demographic. You know, a local office membership may have a very different feeling from a central benefits branch. You know, the demographic is entirely different in Melanie's branch in child maintenance. You know, with a lot of agency workers, there tend to be a younger crowd, whereas the like of a local office, it's older, usually older people. So, you know, something might work in one office where it absolutely won't work at all in another office.
Yeah,
so it's about trying things, you know.
And Karen, just on Katrina's point there, if your branch is located in one small building, then getting the opportunity to get some privacy to do that might be more of a difficulty, where if you're in a large building, you might be able to find a meeting room or a corner somewhere a bit easier where your line manager's not beside you. So it is very different across different areas. But what we're trying to do is just open the channels of communication. And if something doesn't suit, that still doesn't mean a member won't contact you to say that doesn't suit me, but I'd still like to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then. So what we've done here, we'll look at weeks 4 and 5 here. So what we've said at week 4 is about the information stall. I made a comment on that earlier. If there's nobody in the building, there's no point doing an information stall. But if there are people attending the workplace, and you don't have, if you think this is a good idea, you can do it more than once. But this is not about recruiting members. It's not about recruiting activists to the committee. This is solely about raising the profile. If you happen to recruit a non-member, then fantastic. But this is really just about raising the profile. Now, at the end of week 5, we talk about a newsletter. One of the things, and I meant to say it just about the Membership Plus sessions as well, is there are opportunities for you to take photographs or short videos of some of the things that you're doing and then reissue those later in the campaign as a means of reminding members what you've done, but also then about maybe trying to pick up those members who never got to the event in the first place. This is one of the things you can do with an information stall. And we've done this in the past where we've had an information stall at the front door. We've taken a picture of the information stall. We've put it on the front page of a newsletter and said, NIPSA has information stall, and there's a picture and there's a wee bit about it. So you can pick up those people that you missed as part of then issuing out some sort of newsletter afterwards. So you get 2 bites at the cherry for doing the one event. Again, some people might think that's too much effort. There's not enough people, or our building has a whole pile of entrances, or I'm in a building with along with another 4 or 5 branches. Then that may be an opportunity for branches to come together and to do an information stall, right across everybody. But again, I think homework and COVID, etc., that has sort of diluted to some extent the benefits of doing a stall. But it really is for raising publicity. That's the function of that. Week 4, the second one, then maybe have a session with McCartan, Turkington and Breen. I forgot the name there for a minute. McCartan, Turkington and Breen for members only. What you can do at the first session, say you invite non-members to Membership Plus, you can tell them we're having 2 more sessions here, but they're for members only, so you need to join if you want to get to these. McCartan, Turkington and Breen can set out the services that they provide for NIPSA members. Again, we'll probably look at that as a department-wide session rather than an individual branch session, but it's something that your members can link into. Start of week 5, then you might want to, again, we're back to what our priorities were at the outset, where the branch chair can then write directly to non-members in Office 4, read the benefits of membership and encourage those members to join. Issue a 3rd, we can help poster. Branch committee maybe have a meeting to discuss the campaign. And then we said about the newsletter there, if you have a photo from the Membership Plus session, you have a photo from the information stall, maybe a photo from the MTB session, maybe you've met with management and you have a short report to give, you can include that on a 1-page or a 2-page newsletter, and then you can issue that out to members, and that reinforces a lot of the actions that you've actually taken. So again, we'll stop there if anybody has any questions particular to any of those.
And again, obviously we're saying, the committee will have meetings throughout the course of the campaign, because obviously you're going to discuss, how things are going, what has worked, do you need to change things, do you need to tweak things a wee bit in the coming weeks? So again, that's important that you have those discussions, Yeah, Melanie, sorry.
No, go on ahead, Melanie.
Melanie.
Sorry, I'm unmuted there, aren't it? Yeah. So I was just thinking there of that, the information stall and stuff, that would be really useful for us, because we have a lot of new staff coming in all the time. I mean, I think we've got like 10 or 12 new classes coming up between now and the end of the year, which is potentially, I don't know, 250 new people coming in. So we capture them then in induction and training, and luckily enough I'm in training, so it's a bit of a win-win for us. But as quick as we're recruiting them, nearly they're a few weeks later they're leaving or whatever is happening, getting promoted, getting other jobs, moving on, or just basically it's not for them. So we find that all of our energy is nearly being put into just like recruiting new people and putting the effort into them only for them to leave again, then having to do that over and over and over again and repeat that. But obviously some people are going to be missed at induction, so that would be really, really good to have that, and then just to capture those. Yeah, so I was just going to say, because we have relatively low reps, and I've worked that out by that last exercise that we done, it was actually surprising me that we only had 1 rep per 40 members, which is low. So we probably don't have all the resourcing within our reps to do everything that we'd like to do, because we just seem to be continually trying to just recruit and deal with membership issues. And yeah, that's just something that I've noticed.
Melanie, that's a really important point here, because in looking at a plan, capacity has to be part of your thinking on this. There's no sense of putting a plan in and then finding after the second week, actually, you can't implement it because you don't have the capacity to. So it is about, of course, it's about priorities. Of course, it's about trying to do the best that you can in implementing any campaign, but it's also about capacity and resource, because, you know, as we all know, I mean, this is a volunteer thing, and therefore you have jobs to do, and it is not always easy to find a significant amount of time to do that. And that's one of the reasons, and I understand your point on the number of committee members, but that's one of the reasons we're keen that the committee leads on this. It can't fall on the shoulders of the organizer or the chair or the secretary. It has to be a collective approach to this. And that's why we want a long lead in. And that's why we wanted to do these sessions before the summer, so that over the summer, organizers could start conversations with their committees about what has been raised here, and about trying to look at what a plan might look like, so that when we get to September and we start getting into the nuts and bolts of it, there's already been some thinking done on it. We said, you know, earlier on there to Emmett about looking at workplace mapping over the summer and stuff, and taking a wee bit of time at it, not trying to get it all done, you know, in the one go, if it's easier that way. So yeah, capacity is a big issue here. Any other questions or comments just on those?
Emmett, go on ahead.
I just want to back up there with Melanie said. That would be a problem for us too, because we're now heavily outweighed with agency staff. So a high turnover of staff too would be another problem. Although mapping would definitely would have to be done in our branch. I do believe too, Kieran, what you said was important too. I think baby steps more than rushing in and doing all floors. I think doing maybe universal credit first and mapping it and see where you come and see how we get on with that, as opposed to going
and part of that's learning as well. I mean, this is all new to, you know, I mean, we have said on a number of occasions, we've been making up these awareness sessions. We haven't been making them up. You know, it's been based on stuff that we've done previously and building on that. But you know, a lot of the stuff we're doing here is new as well. So and it's new to use. So launching into a big area, I mean, and trying to get it all done, it could sometimes become a bit overwhelming. So therefore, you know, rather than have an 8-week plan over a big area, it might be better to have a 3-week or a 4-week plan in a smaller area, take a break, and then move on to another area and have a 3 or 4 week plan within there, and then do it over an extended period of time. You know, it's whatever suits. And I know we've said this already. It's really whatever the branch feels is best for it to try and get the best outcomes it has, and capacity and you know, experience in doing these things and learning, all of that factors into that.
Yeah, and the online events that we've been talking about and planning for, you know, the Membership Plus talk, the MTB talk, and there's another one for Platinum as well in another week. Those are all things that we'll set up centrally, but whether you're in a plan or you're not in a plan, and you're doing a recruitment exercise or you're not doing a recruitment exercise, it's still something that you can advertise to your members, that's going to be available for them, you know, so they can still dial into it essentially, you know, no matter what situation you're in at that time. So it is still something that you can use to engage with your membership, and, you know, for the Membership Plus one, the non-members as well. So you're all getting a chance to use that resource, you know, to do something, you know.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as well, as we've said before, we don't have representatives from all the branches here, so we still want to continue to raise the profile of NIPSA in those other areas. So some of those sessions, as Karen said, can factor into that. And then, you know, you know, as part of, you'll see at the end of week 8, we're talking about reviews. Those reviews are really important to use, but they're really important to us as well, because if we're going to then go back out in the new year to other branches and say, you know, here's what these branches have done, here's their experience, we want you to be involved in this, and get up and running, and to do the mapping and to set the plans and implement the plans, then part of that has to be what worked and what didn't work, and that will feed in. And as I've said, no bad ideas, but some things will work well and some things won't, and that's okay. And what doesn't work in your area might actually be a very good idea in somebody else's. So, you know, there is learning for all of us as part of this process, and we will do it. We will do it as a department, but then it's up to your branch to decide to what level it links in or factors in as part of that process as well. And it's whatever suits you.
And the other side of it is, you know, us learning as well what we need to do to support branches as well, and also possibly how often we need to do this exercise as well, because obviously this isn't something we can only do once and then leave it and forget about it, because it's something that we need to have a focus on throughout the year, you know.
Okay, look, folks, we'll move on again here. We'll look at the
Matter
next 2 weeks. So week 6 and week 7, then we're looking at this. We have a session from Platinum Financial in relation to what services they can provide members and advice. Then we have there on the Thursday. Then there's a umbrella poster as part of publicising NIPSA generally. Then at the start of week 7, issue a letter from, say, the departmental secretary, the headquarters official, just about the campaign, the importance of the campaign, you know, encouraging members, you know, that could be, you know, members will be contacted in the next week or two, and you know, that members can ask questions, can raise issues, whatever. So just a piece of correspondence being issued really from somebody else, just to break up. That we then have our reasons to join NIPSA poster that could be issued out. Issue video 3, and then at the end of week 7 or at the beginning of week 8, whatever way you want to do it, but at the end of week 7, we've factored in here a meeting of the branch committee, the final preps for the following week. So we'll stop there again. And just, has anybody any questions? That's more or less similar to what we've already discussed in the previous weeks, but has anybody any comments or questions around that before we get into the final week stuff? No.
And don't forget, as was said, you know, you and your committee pick and choose which bits of these you want to use and how you want to use them. And as I said again, you know, that this plan is a worst case scenario. If you have to do absolutely everything, everything's in there. But you know, again, some things you might not want to do, or you don't need to do, because you're well organized, or you've got enough committee members and all those different things, so you don't need to do some things. But so it's up to you to pick and choose.
Okay, we'll move on now. This is a big week. And again, this can be 1 week or 2 weeks. In this particular case, we've set it down as 1 week because with 4 offices, and what we're going to do is look at each office, or one office each day. Now, we will work on the basis just for this that everybody is in the office, okay, first of all, and then subsequent to that, we'll have a wee bit of a conversation around how we engage with those people that work from home. But say you're going up to approach people in the office. Remember, we've, you know, there's 2 types of staff member. There's the person's either going to be a member or a non-member. So therefore, as part of your preparation for this, you need to have a bit of a script done for a member, and you need to have a bit of a script done if the person says they're a non-member. So we'll work on the basis that the person says they're a member. What we've done is, I'll just drop this back down again just so we can have a chat around this. What we've done in other occasions is, I mean, you could go up and just say to a person, if I was going up to Karen, introduce yourself. If you know the person's a member, we'll work on the basis you don't know the person's a member. So you walk up, you introduce yourself, you explain who you are, what you're doing. And then your first question is to Karen. It says, are you a member or non-member? Karen says, I'm a NIPSA member. So one of the things we've had in the past is a wee membership update card. It's a small card, and it allows members to provide you with contact details. So what we've done is we've set the membership card down and says the branch committee is doing a membership update engagement. Could you just fill this in? It takes 30, 40 seconds to fill that in. Name, email address, mobile number, home email address, whatever it is. And these are all printed out beforehand, and the member just fills them in. You have 30 seconds to talk to them. So you have a bit of a script to say, look, we had a couple of information sessions there with Membership Plus and Platinum. Did you go to any of those? If you did, what do you think of them? Why did you not go to them? Did you not get a chance to? Would you be interested? There's information on the website. Or you might turn around and say, look, you know, we don't have very many branch reps in this area here. Would you like to come on as a branch rep? Here's all it involves. You know, sure, come along and check it out. And then you can make your mind up. We'll invite you to the next meeting. Whatever that is, you have a bit of a script there. If the person says that they're a member, and you have 30 or 40 seconds to talk to them while they fill that out, and then you take it away with you. If the person then turns around and says they're a non-member, you have an application form and you have a bit of a script. So what you're going to say is, have you been a member of NIPSA before? If they have, you know, why did you did you resign? Why did you resign? And then try and deal with whatever they tell you. If they turn around and say, well, it was to do with the cost, then you have a script to say, yeah, I understand cost is an issue, but you know, we have the Membership Plus scheme that saves you money. If you use that, actually, your membership subscriptions are pay for themselves. NIPSA's subscriptions are the lowest membership subscriptions for any trade union in Northern Ireland, et cetera, et cetera. So you have your script already done. If that person says that, if the person says, actually, do you know what? I had a run-in with a branch chair, a previous branch chair, treated abysmally. Well, then, rather than get into a row with that person and say to that person, well, your land, get that, you know, our previous chair was great. What, you know, acknowledge the fact that says, well, look, this is a new committee, this is a new process. You know, we want you to come on board. You're actually denying yourself access to services by not being a union member. Whatever it is, have that conversation with them in order then to try and encourage them. Give them an application form. Ask them to fill it out while you're standing there, if you can, while you're talking to them. And if they're reluctant to do that, tell them you'll be back again in about 15 minutes as you move around the office. The other thing is, when you're doing this, it's not just about one person going into an area. You really want the committee to be going into an area. So if we're going into, as I've showed you the mapping exercise before, say, sorry, 1 wee second. So saying this, we're actually going around office 1. And so you're going in to see who's a member, who's not a member, etc., and through that process. Most of them are members, so you can have conversations with those people about what's going on. But if you're going into office 4, those conversations are going to be different, because the vast majority of those people are non-members. But as you're going in, you don't need to do that on your own. There's 6 people on the committee here, so you can go in there and say, do you know what? If 6 of us go in, there's only 18 staff in total as a maximum in that office. We're only actually talking to 3 people each. So therefore, having that plan in place and doing that shares the responsibility. It's not one person going in to talk to 18 people. It's actually 4 or 5 or 6 people going in to talk to 18 people, which means you do it far quicker. It means then it's more collective solidarity. You feel a bit of confidence because others are doing it with you, and you have a plan. And if there's a problem, and you see politicians do, political parties do this at election time. They've come and knocked my door and I've asked them a question. The guy standing at the door looks at you and hasn't a clue what you've asked them, but will turn around and say, actually, do you know what? Joe or Jane or whoever is here as well, they might be able to answer that, and then somebody else comes down to talk to you. This is the same. If you're going into an office and there's 5 or 6 years and somebody asks you a question you don't know, you've got colleagues with you to turn around and say, actually, do you know what? Well, Karen might know the answer to that. Hold on a second. And you can invite somebody over as part of that. And that continues the dialogue. And if somebody asks you a question and you don't know, you tell them you will get them the answer. You go away, you get an answer, and you go back to them and give them the answer. I actually sit on the board for a charity, and there was a meeting last night on it. And they were given an example of where a company had gathered money up just for charity and had sent it out to 5 or 6 different charities. Now, the charity I'm involved in went back directly to that company wrote them a letter, said thanks, they were happy to come out and meet with you, then went out and met with them. Now, they were the only charity that did that. Now, that company has agreed for the next 12 months, they're going to raise money solely for that charity. So the other charities that got a benefit and didn't go back and say thank you have lost out now for the next 12 months. And this is the same. If we don't go back to members, if they ask us a question and we don't go back and give them the information, they are not going to join NIPSA because we have let them down as part of that process. And even if it's an answer they're not happy with, still go back and tell them what it is. We need to engage with them, whether it's a member or a non-member. We need to go back and engage with them as part of that. But what you have is a script there, so you can feel a bit more confident. So you do Office 1 first. Office 1 should be easier because you have more members, less non-members. So and maybe leave Office 4 to the end, because that's probably going to be a wee bit more difficult because you're trying to get people to recruit people on that. But the people in Office 4 will know that they're coming because you've promoted this, you've told them you're going to do it. They'll be aware of going into Office 1. They'll be aware of you going into Office 2. They'll be aware of you. So they'll be expecting you to come in. And then the other thing you need to look at is when you go in, and that's about picking the days. I have Friday in there for Office 4. Friday might be a bad day for Office 4. You know, Friday, they might be very busy on a Friday, or they might have a lot of part-time workers and most of them are off on a Friday. So you need to have a look at all of that as part of your engagement strategy about how you go in and what you say, etc. But that's the objective of this. The objective is to talk to members, get some of them on the committee. The objective is to recruit members, and if you give them an application form, you go back and take it off them. And if they haven't filled it in, you ask them why they haven't filled it in. Sometimes you need to be politely balchy on the basis of saying, well, you know, why would you not do that? And then if there's a criticism there, then take it on the chin. Don't get into a row with them. Take it on the chin, and even hold your hands up if you have to, even if you're maybe not really don't want to. Now, if they're talking absolute nonsense, then challenge them on it. But at the same time, if they're telling you they've had a bad experience, it's better to sympathise with them on that experience than to turn around and fight with them about it. So that's your plan for your final week, is about actually sitting down on what your committee will have done before that as part of its planning. It will have got the committee members together, talked about how are we going to engage with non-members, what are we going to say, what props are we going to use, how are we going to engage with members, what are we going to say, what props are we going to use, and then it's about going out and doing it. And when you do it the first time, it might not be that polished and it might not be that good, but that's why you go to the areas where you have most members. By the time you get to Office 4, you'll be doing it better because you'll have already done it on a number of occasions. Any questions about that as a plan? Is it a load of nonsense? Is it something that you wouldn't be prepared to do? Do you see the benefits in it? Any thoughts at all?
I think, Julie, part of the problem is I'm in the office a day a week, so the hybrid working or working from home will be a bit of a problem there as regarding talking.
I'm going to come to that, Aileen, as well, because we need to talk about online. We absolutely need to talk about online.
And then the second thing is in our office, yes, there's a lot of new staff, right? But there's a lot of the older staff that were traditionally, they've been there for the last 30 odd years. And anti-union would be the wrong expression, but you know what I mean? They just wouldn't be pro-union in any shape or form, and it would be difficult to talk to them, I believe, as well.
Well, I think we can talk to them. I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, I had set an objective. I used to work in the Brew in Lisburn, and I had set an objective. I worked in Job Seekers Alliance, and I had set an objective to recruit everybody in Job Seekers Alliance. That was just a thing for myself. One to recruit, and there was a woman who worked with me, and I got them all but one, and she just would not join. And one of the things she said to me was that I knew had lost when she told me this. I've been trying for weeks to get her to join in, and a lovely woman, like, and she turned around and she says to me, Dooley, I was going to join, and then I went and I talked to my pastor, and the pastor said that the Bible said you shouldn't be a member of a trade union. And as soon as she said that to me, I just, no point arguing. It was, there was absolutely, and she wasn't making that up as an excuse. That woman had genuinely done that and felt genuine. And I just says, I am not going to beat the church on this. I no matter what arguments I make, I'm not beating the church. And I just had to accept it. Now we were there was only 12 staff or something. I mean, it wasn't a big office. It was a small office. And I could only I was one out of that. But I knew that was it over. I was never going to get the woman again. So if there are people there that you know are long time, now saying that too, sometimes, and again, Eileen, the evidence, not just from our union or from Northern Ireland or the UK, from right across the world, all the research that's been done by trade unions show that the best way to get someone to join a union is to ask them. You can send out all the emails and publicity all you want. The best way is to ask them. And that's why we have this at the end. It's about breaking the ice down, getting the barriers down, showing the benefits, and then going and asking them. Now, the thing is, if you know, I mean, look, if I was in a branch and I knew that I'm the branch chair, me and Kieran's had a massive row. He was the secretary, he resigned, there was blood and guts everywhere. I'm not going to ask Karen to go and join NIPSA again. You're not going to do that. So there will be people that you don't, but even people that have been there a long time, sometimes they will say, well, look, I might have joined recently because of this issue or that issue, but nobody asked me. So sometimes even just going and having a quick conversation with them and just saying, are you interested? If they turn around and go, no, then that's okay. Move on. Don't waste your time and your effort as part of that engagement. But I think the reason I'm saying that is that sometimes it can end up in for example, if you know that I'm going to be a problem or you don't think I'm going to join and you ask other people and don't ask me, then that allows me then to go about and say, I wouldn't bloody come anywhere near me. Why did they not ask me? So sometimes even going up and just getting a no then deals with that issue as well. I do want to have a wee chat about online, but we'll come back to that in a wee second, Eileen, as well, because that's a difficulty for us, absolutely. Emma,
so basically, Dooley, and week 8 when it's all, so basically the scenario is that when we have done the mapping exercise, had the discussions with committee through the summer, whatever, issued the letters about the campaign, the final process will be, for example, you'll be getting into a room. Before I go into that room and I've done my mapping and all, I will know when I go, we'll say there's 30 people in the room, I'll know there's maybe 25 that's not in the trade union and 5 it is. So I'm really then attacking these people, the non-members, to try and join. The face-to-face, what I'm trying to say is, or not attack, but what I'm trying to say is, the face-to-face contact comes on week 8. That's what I mean.
It is. It's all about week 8. The first 7 weeks in that plan or preparation. That's just about breaking ice. Yeah. And yes, individual members may get benefits out of that. If you're doing a surgery, for example, and someone comes forward and tells you, do you know what, I wasn't going to say anything, but I really have a bit of a problem. Well, then you can help that person. I'm not saying there are not benefits that fall out of that. If you're someone might attend a session of Membership Plus or maybe with MTB and think, do you know what, I might need legal representation on an issue here. So there will be benefits out of that process. But all of that, the first 7 weeks are all about week 8. And because what we want to do is recruit members and we want to get more people on the committee. That's your priorities. And that's what that focus is about. But you have to do it in a planned way and you have to be prepared as part of the conversations that you're having with people. So absolutely.
Yeah, those first 7 weeks are raising the profile of NIPSA, preparing the members for information that they're going to get, and preparing the non-members for information that they're going to get. So those 7 weeks are the important lead in to that final week, so that none of it's coming as a surprise to everybody when you approach them. You're the NIPSA bloke that has been sending me all these things.
Yeah. So the thing is, Emmett, again, research from trade unions across the world is, if you go up to somebody cold and ask them to join a union, a lot of them don't know what a union is, or maybe haven't had engagement, or so they won't. Some of them might join, and a lot of them won't. Whereas if you can do a lead into that, show the benefits, have some level of engagement, give commitments as part of what the committee is going to do going forward. Once you actually come to the asking part, then the unions has raised its profile. They're more aware of what a union can do and what a union has done. So therefore, when you ask them to come on board, it's a bit easier for them to say yes, because they understand then the benefit that they're going to get out of it.
Yeah. I say, whenever you're doing an induction, people are looking at you, union and everything. The thing is that people don't selling the fact that you have personal representation if there's a problem. People, when they're just starting a job, don't know whether they're going to have a problem or not. Most of them don't think that they will ever have a problem, that they would need personal representation. So my view of it is that the other things are the things that sell the membership, such as Membership Plus.
early on.
That's a really, really big one. That you're going to save money. You join us. It's going to cost you some money each month, but you can save far more than that by using this tool that we have, the Membership Plus card. That's a big a bonus for everybody, and that's something that's tangible that they can get a use of every single week of the year,
straight away.
because hopefully they're not going to be coming to you for personal representation constantly, but there are some that do. But that's the thing, whenever you're having that conversation, that the personal representation isn't necessarily the thing that people automatically think of. But while you're having all these conversations and advertising the fact that you do this, you will get other people will come to you and think, oh, I should have asked you a question about this situation that I have, and that's where you can help the members or gain non-members to join. Okay, Melanie, you have your hand up.
Yes, I'm going to be very quick because I know we're sort of running out of time, and Karen, you have covered a bit of what I was going to say anyway. I was just going to say there would be very little that I wouldn't do. I would do near enough anything I was told to. It wouldn't be out of like awkwardness or fear, but it would just be out of time limitations. So just with regards to induction, the people that we're dealing with are sort of 18 to 25, maybe up to 30-year-olds, a few of them. And basically we're speaking to them about different things: sports association, IT security, quality and assurance, customer service, all that there. And then the union's just another one of those wee sort of snippets in their induction. And you can tell they're not overly really interested, probably don't feel it's very, very relative to them. But as soon as you mention the Membership Plus thing, their ears prick up and they start listening. And particularly if it's something that they're used to using anyway, like for example the McDonald's one, or sometimes the hotel ones and stuff like that. If they've heard of it and it's something that they either know they use or their parents use or whatever, it's something very relevant, they will. And I know you'd said at the start there, Dilly, about some people just join it for the card and then they leave and then they've got that card for 2 years. I'm sort of the opinion that doesn't really matter because it's not costing us anything anyway. And if we've got 10 that wouldn't normally sign up, if 5 of them then leave, we're still up 5, and it's advertising and all for us anyway, and it's really only the businesses that's out the kind of
very fair
money,
point, Melanie, very fair point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my other thing is the merch. I don't know if that's the right term for it. I remember years ago, I used to get all this stuff, and it was like, I remember we got these ski passes that said NIPS on them, and anybody who was a NIPS member had one of these, and they were brilliant. And all the other ones just had your normal lanyard, and they were like a big sort of draw. And I think that type of age group as well would really appreciate something. And I know this is probably very tactical and wrong, but if you could say to them, if you sign up today, you get like a wee mug or something that's useful to them, a USB stick, or even a lanyard, like sort of like that free cuddly toy or pen thing. Like if you sign up today, if it's just something, it's something that grabs people's attention, and it's
a joining bonus.
Yes,
A joining bonus.
just something. It's amazing what can attract people and just cause them to sign on the dotted line just because of.
I think COVID has dealt with has dealt a bit of a hit for the merchandise end of things. It is something that we have raised. It is something I know that they're looking at again.
Is there anything available out there?
All we're trying to do is get a hook to get people to join, and it's going to be it's a different hook for different people. And I absolutely agree. I mean, I've done inductions and stuff, and it is something where people will go, well, I'll just sign my name here anyway, and here's something to get for it, and it's about getting them on board. It's just about getting them on board, and it's about hooking them in. And if that's for one reason or another reason, for me, it doesn't really matter as long as you get them on board.
We just don't have merchandise at the minute.
So there is none, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's a small amount, but there's very little. Yeah.
Right.
But look, it is something we've raised. It's something I'll go back to them again on.
Yeah.
Okay. On merchandising, I was on the NIPSA website, and we do Specsavers discount.
That's right. Yep.
How can you get them for members, or how do you go about that
You
process?
go out, once they're a member, you go through NIPSA headquarters, and there's no, sorry. It's a voucher, Karen, isn't it? There's a voucher
Yes, a
issue
voucher.
there.
Yeah.
As
You,
part of
you,
that, I
you
think
get
you go
issued
through.
with a voucher from headquarters. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a voucher
Uh,
from headquarters, Emmett, that you get, issued out to you. I think it's a £20 saver.
£20.
Yeah.
It's £20, and it's off. I think the range you can only get use the voucher in the £99 and above range of frames. So because they're obviously different frames at different prices, but it has to be over £99 to be able to use the £20
but
voucher.
Again, as part of an induction package, for example, you could turn around and say to people, if you join the day, we'll give you a £20 voucher off Specsavers. Now, that won't affect everybody, but it will affect some of them. So therefore,
I would mention that on induction. Actually, there's actually an insurance company on there on our website.
That's Abbey Insurance.
And a guy actually went out, and he went, and you can forget about that, because Abbey cannot match online. You can get cheaper insurance online. But I rang them up and asked them for renewal, and their insurance rates are sky high. So
But there are definitely some things are better than others. There's no doubt
the
about that.
Specsavers thing, I would mention that, and I think again it's a gimmick, or it's a sort of a
it's a good benefit, Emmett. Like, I mean, it really is. If somebody's going in and buying glasses on a regular basis, then it's a saving. It's £20 in somebody's pocket that they would have had to spend otherwise.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to be made aware of as well. Like, I'm in NIPSA as long as, and I buy my glasses out of Specsavers, and I never knew it existed. So there's lots of things that we don't know about.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're doing as part of the communication strategy on this as well, Eileen. It is about getting all that information out, and that's some of the stuff that you're covered. I mean, that would fall under, although Membership Plus is specifically about the card. That's some of the stuff that will be hopefully we could look at covering under the Membership Plus stuff as well.
Okay, Tina.
Yeah, it's just briefly, at the start of this, we were all sitting chatting about RMT. I just was reading something there that TUC have issued to say that if you Google join a union, it has gone up 184%. So now is the time to get out there.
Yeah.
During 2020, even journalists were saying join a union because they knew that we were there protecting our members in all our workplaces. And now when you see what RMT can do and the attacks from the media, and nobody's believing the attacks for once. Normally once media say anything, everybody follows in line. So it's a good strike while the iron's hot, is saying. So don't even have to wait to September, October. You can start now.
Strike anyway.
Yeah.
Melanie, your hand's still up there. Do you have anything else, or is that just Okay, has anybody else any other questions or comments? Look, we're going to work with you in a bit more detail, especially about the week 8. I'd said Eileen there, online presents us with new difficulties. Okay, homework and presents us with new difficulties. All right. There is still an opportunity to try and do some of this online. We can get access to email addresses for non-members. We can issue out, the electronic application forms as part of that engagement to try and encourage people. We said about doing the online surgeries. We have the online sessions. It may well be that the branch would need to look at saying, do we actually need to try and do some online engagement? Now, this would be something that a branch rep could do easier than us because we're outside of the branch, but can you use Teams if you're on Teams, can you use Teams to engage with non-members? Can you invite people to come and have individuals to come and have a chat with you on that? That's more labor intensive, I accept, especially if you have a large number of non-members. A bit easier if you have a small number of non-members, but I think there is a piece of work, not just for branches, but for us as well at departmental level, to sit down and say, actually, if Kieran's at home 4 or 5 days a week and he's only in now and again, how do we actually talk to Karen about joining NIPSA? And I think we probably need to do a wee bit more on that, Aileen. And we have certainly some thoughts about what you could do, but we're hoping at the minute is that if the working from home policy is implemented, or the hybrid working policy is implemented as we hope it'll be, that members will, members and non-members will still be spending a significant amount of time at home. Now, while we have access to them by email, and we still need to look, how do we actually engage with them? Now, one of the things that's in my mind is that if you look at the 4 offices as part of the workplace mapping, what you might be able to do, if an awful lot of the Office 4 people are actually working from home on a regular basis, do you try and do the say people are coming in once a fortnight, okay, just to pick a reference, a good expanse, people are only coming in once a fortnight. Branch committee could make a decision to say, look, what we're going to try and do is over that fortnight, one member of the committee is going to be in every day. And therefore, the day that one member of the committee's in, they will go down and talk to whoever's in Office 4 on that particular day. Now, some days it might be the same people, in which case you're not going to have a very big conversation, but on other times it might actually be people that haven't been spoken to before, and you can go and have a conversation with them. So you're not going to be doing very much, but you're spreading it out over a longer. So rather than going in and doing I'd say where the whole committee would go in, 6 people would go in and talk to 18 people, you're only doing 3 people each. So you're only in for 10 or 15 minutes and out again, that's it finished. You might want to spread that out over a 2-week period, because you'll hopefully get everybody over that 2-week period. But again, it's about making sure that doesn't fall on the shoulder. That's okay if you've got 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 people on a committee. If there's only 2 or 3 people on the committee, it becomes a whole lot more of a problem. But I think it's a matter of sitting down and looking at, right, and again, if you're looking at an office with 200 people in it and they're coming in once a fortnight, that presents a bigger challenge as well. But I think it's a matter of sitting down and looking, what can we do to try and either engage face-to-face over a longer period of time? How do we actually engage with them online? And part of that could be looking at teams. Part of that could be allocating different areas of the business to different members on the committee and saying, right, here's 5 people for you now. Can you send Teams invites out to those people and ask them, or invite them to come along to talk to you about becoming an NIPSA member? And if some of them come along, great. If others don't, you tick them off. But what you do as part of your mapping exercise, you have everybody's name, so you can tick off who you've spoken to and what their response has been as part of that process. And then you can share it with your committee and make sure your committee's not talking to the same person 3 or 4 times. But it is something I think we need to do a wee bit more work on and to actually sit down and think through. But again, we've said all along, we don't have all the answers to this. Committees can absolutely come up with solutions that we haven't thought of that would be far better suited to their areas. So I think it is a conversation for committees, but it is something that we are going to look at over the summer to see, can we provide committees with a wee bit more advice and suggestion around that, because it is an issue for us and it's one we haven't really got across yet completely. As I say, we've some ideas about how to do it, but we haven't really bottomed that out yet, and it's something we need to do over the summer. Yeah,
because obviously if you're talking to them over Teams or whatever, you haven't got a NIPSA application form in your hand to give them.
No, you're absolutely right. But what we do have is, and what we will have is developed over the summer, we just need to tidy it up. We will have an electronic application or an application form that you can email them. They can fill in and email back the membership section. So if someone does come to you, you can say to them, right, I'm sending you this email or this application form. Can you fill it in while you're talking to me? And then you can talk to them about the benefits of joining NIPSA over Teams and encourage them to fill the application form out and send it directly to membership. You take their name. You can go back to membership then a couple of weeks or the week later and say, look, I spoke to these 10 members. Did any of them join? And if they say, yeah, well, 5 joined and 5 didn't, you can go back to the 5 that joined and say, thanks very much. And you can go back to the 5 that didn't and say, I noticed from our records you didn't join. Is there any reason you didn't? And therefore, it still allows for a level of communication. It's a bit more elongated and it's a bit more time consuming. That's the only difficulty with it, but we're still trying to bottom out how you would go about that. And again, we're back to issues around capacity again for reps and for branches. Some branches are just not going to be able to do that because there's not enough committee members. They don't have enough time. So we need to try and look at all of that and see how best we can do that. But we are thinking about that at the minute.
I think the electronic application forms is the only way forward. Maybe even issuing them before you go out onto the floor. Another wee point there, you were on about non-members. You were saying, are you going to issue a generic type of form, as you say, if I go onto the floor and a non-member or a member and say, look, could you fill that in or whatever? You know, an NIPSA form for the details, just to get a lead on the conversation.
You're talking about the membership update card, Emmett?
Yes,
is that right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
We're going to work
Emmett,
on
we
these
have
things.
one of them. I think I have one of them somewhere. I had meant to download it here so I could show you an example of it, but I don't have it just to my hand at the minute.
But even if you issued it and you get printed
No,
off,
we will have that. We will have that, absolutely. I'm just trying to see is that.
Obviously, we've been talking about a whole load of different materials and stuff that we'll have for you. Now, we've got the videos finished. We haven't got all of the posters finished yet. You know, so there are certain things. The induction package is now completed. There's a few things that still need to be finished off. And again, this is one of the reasons why we're doing the training now. There's a lead-in time to the campaign.
For use on us.
Yes, and I mean that's quite deliberate, you know, because we can't do everything all at once. I mean, you know, Tina's still running section office. Dooley's still running the world. You know, we all have other jobs to do as well. You know, so there's still some work to be done.
Yeah,
but obviously we have to have this done for the campaign.
There is absolutely a responsibility on us to provide all of what branches want. And Emmett, if your branch comes up with something that we haven't talked about and it requires some material or something to be provided to you, then we'll go in and try and do that for you. You know, I mean, you know, in some areas, what we've done before, we have produced, and I'm not talking about branch specific, but we've produced area specific documents. I know I have responsibility for the PSNI. We've done a bit of a campaign on the PSNI, and we got NIPSA headquarters to produce us a couple of PSNI flyers for recruitment stuff that was particularly focused on non-members in that area. So there is stuff that we can do over and above anything that's been suggested, but it's about having those conversations as a committee and thinking, we think this would be a good idea, and then coming back to us and we'll see if we can deliver on that for you. Now, some things, you know, if you're looking a check from me for £100 for every non-member that joins, you know, that might prove more of a difficulty. But you know, there will be things that we can do, there'll be some things we can't, but it is about having conversations with us. And this is why Karen made reference to it earlier. I think we mentioned it before. We want to allocate our organisation and membership subcommittee with a handful of branches. You know, where every member has 2 or 3 branches, so that organisers know who to contact and have a conversation with. You know, whether it's a seconded officer, whether it's me, Karen, or Tina, or whether it's the person on the membership subcommittee, that there is a resource and a support there as we move forward in this. What we're not going to do in this, and we've been very clear, is it's not about doing these sessions and saying, right, go ease on ahead and get on with it, and we're not going to talk to you for the next 12 months. This is about an ongoing effort, both for you, but also a commitment from us to support you in that process.
Absolutely. Tina?
It really covered a lot of what I was going to say, but one other point is, when we're doing recruitment, the forms probably will be changed by that, but it is NIPSA's policy now to make sure that we encourage members to get all the posts delivered to their home address. So try and not to get them to tick any boxes that say you, unless they have other reasons, and that's what can be done. But we want to use their home address because that means then that their post goes directly to home. They have a better chance of getting involved in all their democratic elections, and it reduces your organizer and branch secretary roles as having to run around the office trying to deliver post.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it means if we're in dispute with the employer, we can be more certain that members are getting the correspondence we're sending out because it's going to their home address. Yeah.
Okay, folks, look, I'm really conscious of the time. It's coming up to 12:15. So we did say this was going to be a good session. I think we've really covered a lot here today. have we any final questions or anything at all?
Karen, can I just make one point just in closing off the chart? The very, very last thing we had on it was about review. Now,
Yes.
we've built in for the branch committees to meet during the process, and that's about to review what has been done, what has worked, what hasn't, and also to make sure that the stuff that's coming up over the next week or two, people know that who's doing it and that all the information is there for it to be done, or all the materials. But at the end, once you do, whether it's in 1 week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, doesn't matter. That engaging with members to either recruit them or get them on board on the committees. Once that's finished, once you've drawn a line under that and said, right, that's us now finished this process, you really do need, now you can take a breather. It doesn't need to be done that afternoon. I have to say, you can take a week or two off it, but you really need to do a review and we'd like you to write up a review, and we'd like you to share it with us at the centre, just to let us know how it went in your area. We're not going to ask you to do this all the time, but we'd like you to do it this time, because if you have experiences, whether they're good or they're bad, that factors into what we're going to be doing next year. Because while your branches are represented as part of this process now, most branches aren't. So we need to go back out to the organisers who haven't been able to make these meetings, pardon me, and we need to go out to the branches that don't have branch organisers. And we're going to be doing this again next year. Unfortunately, we're going to be doing this next year. So we need your experiences in order to inform what we do next year. So we can say to those branches next year, you know, branch 119 did A and it really worked because they're a big branch with a lot of agency workers, you know, branch whatever done something else. They're a smaller branch. They're across a number of locations. Branch such and such did something else because they're a small branch and everybody's in the one building. So it's just about sharing that experience about what worked and what didn't. What did members, and again, we're saying it's not about a bad idea, but what did members react well to, and what did they not react so well to? And I know when we produced, I think we produced about 10 posters a number of years ago, that some of them still in use. Some people really liked some of them, and some people really detested some of the other ones. But then the ones that I didn't like, Karen maybe liked those. So it's not about you as an individual and what you like or don't like. It's about what the members react to. And if something works, then we want to do more of that. And if something's not working, well, we want to understand why it's not working, but there's no point doing it again if it's not working. And so your experience through this process will be very important to what we do next year.
Ryan, do you have a point?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Dilly, you know, you're saying there about coming back to head office with her stuff. I don't know if it's planned or it'll be an idea. Could we not have a session down the line, 5 months' time, and discuss between ourselves how things work?
Absolutely. Absolutely do that. We can bring everybody back together. And look, there will be people who haven't been able to attend these sessions will still want to do the campaign, and we'll still support them in that, you know. So absolutely, we can do that. We can organise something for maybe in January next year, and we can invite those that have been involved in the campaign, both from a seconded officer perspective, from the organisation and membership perspective, and obviously then from the branches and from the organisers, get them back around the table and have a yarn about what worked and what didn't. Absolutely, we can do that, Ryan, no problem.
And when Dooley says he wants you to write down the experiences, it's not War and Peace that we're looking for. It's just a sort of a brief overview of how things work.
A couple of bullet points, what worked and what didn't.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. Has anybody got any other questions or comments at all? No. It's just I'm very conscious of the time.
Yep.
We don't want to be keeping you back too long, because obviously we're coming to nearly 2 hours to it. Look, just in closing, I just want to thank all of you for attending. I really do hope that we haven't scared you, but you've got some knowledge and obviously a renewed passion out of this out of these sessions. We do want some feedback on the program, so we are going to be sending out some evaluation forms. Just complete them and send them back as soon as you can. It's again, it's not War and Peace. We're not looking for massive information. We just answer a few questions, give us your honest opinion. If you thought it was a Horlicks, tell us that. You know, if you thought it was good, grand. We're not looking to blow smoke up anybody's anywhere particular. So you know, we just want an honest opinion.
Yeah.
But look, as we're moving forward, if you have any questions or you need some help or guidance, you can contact me or your seconded officer anytime. You know, we're always going to be available for you to talk to. Finally, I want to thank Tina for continued help and support, and especially to Dooley for his help and his input. And in fairness, he's the one that's put all the effort into this program, and without him, we wouldn't be here. So it's not often said, you know, it's not said enough, but without Tina leading a team of strong seconded officers backed up by Dooley, we'd be a lot worse off. And you know, obviously, this is all being done for the first time in this department. So we have to be thankful for them and their leadership. Hopefully, this program will help us build a stronger future together, and we will invigorate not just members but the committees as well. Okay, so folks, well, thanks very much. We'll see you all again soon, hopefully. And thanks for being here. Cheers.
Lovely. Thanks very much, folks. Chat soon.
Very much.